Most recently, I've been reading this book called The Human Body, and the first chapter is How to Build the Human. Now, every chapter goes like in depth on a certain part, but because this is the beginning, it goes like the human body in general. And so it's by this guy named Bill Bryson. I really enjoys the way he like explains things because a lot of it is like analogies. Now, really prefer books that give just like a lot of factual information but not so much story. I mean, I don't mind the story. It's just like I mainly pay attention to like the factual parts and the way that the author writes the his chapters is it is a lot of factual information, which is great, but in addition, he gives a lot of analogies and he sort of compares things so you get like the grand scope of like everything. And so I really enjoy that part about it. So without further ado, I'll basically be going into like the main components of this chapter and most probably the things I find most interesting about it. So if you ever think about the human body, have you ever wondered what makes up the human body? Now you probably know that, but how much would it cost to like get all the ingredients to make a human body? Now in the 1960s, they around that time it was estimated to be only about $5, and it wasn't really very much to make the human body. Now this is also only including the main six components of the six elements that make up the human body, and I'll get to that in a second. But in 2013, the RSC, the Britain's Royal Society of Chemistry, they had this they did their own research and used the example on a famous actor, and they said that this was actually, you would actually need 59, and while doing it, well, and they used the actor just as a reference, but you would need 59 elements actually, 59 of the elements to make up the human body. Now, what are the main six? Obviously, the main six are still in this 59, but the main ones is CHNOPS. And if you've ever taken bio or chemistry, you might hear this. I learned this in my bio and chemistry class. And so CHNOPS is basically the main elements that make up the human body. And so it's an acronym for them. So one of them is carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. Although the book does say calcium instead of sulfur, I feel like either one would probably be part of it. But yeah, that makes sense. And so that's basically the main components of CHNOPS. But this is not 100% of everything. This actually makes up 99.1%, so a big, vast majority. But apparently that 0.9% does actually make a big difference because, let's get that out of the way. This 0.9% actually does have a lot of interesting things you wouldn't think the human body would have. For example, you wouldn't think that molybdenum would be inside the human body, or manganese. Get that? Or manganese, or even copper, tin, or then beryllium, right? And so these are for example, these four actually metals, and especially copper. I'm a little bit shocked that you wouldn't really, that wouldn't be the first thing you'd be thinking about you have in the human body. And so, and this 0.9%, just to give you a scope as an example, for every 20 atoms, not even just pure atoms of cobalt and 30 atoms of chromium, it would be approximately, you would need 999,999,999.5 atoms of everything else, just to give you the big scope of things. So it's basically, literally, obviously, that 0.9 is almost nothing, but apparently it's very vital for the human body. It's vital to make the human body as the main components. And so going to the majority, 61%, most of the body is made up of oxygen. Now, you're wondering why, if we're made up of 61% of an odorless gas, how come we're not like balloons? How come we're not like floating around all the time and we're not super light? Well, the easy way to answer that is most of the oxygens is combined with two hydrogens to form water, and water, if you know, actually does have like weighs a lot more than just like pure air. And if you ever thought about like wet clothes do actually weigh a lot, so hopefully that gives you a little retrospect. And I'm not going to go into too much detail about like how much each element costs during the what the RSC was trying to do when they were trying to calculate how much it would cost to do a human being. And so if you do want to do it, I would recommend just searching it up. But basically, oxygen and hydrogen, even though they make up most of it, are actually the cheaper substances. Like they're maybe like $20 each around. They're actually not that much in comparison of how much you would need. And so and again, it doesn't really matter if you even have all these elements, but like it doesn't matter because it's not even possible. You can't even get the smartest scientists to even create a human body. But even if you did, and you did want to have those, you did want to make your own human body or get all the ingredients, it would cost approximately, actually not that much, $151,000, to be specific. And I mean, this is what the author wrote down in the book, so this is probably like really specific. But if you really want to like look at how much of each, you can go search that up. You can just search that for yourself. Just search up like RSC, like how to make the human body. But anyway, main point being, it's actually not possible to make a human body. And that's how like it doesn't matter what you do, it's not possible to create a human body by scratch. Not even if you were going to make a dead body, it would not even matter. Now the main, like even that, just like let alone a single living cell. You can't make a single living cell from scratch, even if you have all the materials to do it. And just to give you in retrospect about like how like more special you are, because you can't be fabricated or made like any other way besides the human reproductive system. Each cell, in every human body, there are about 30 trillion cells. And so if you can't even make one of them, how are you expecting to make the entire human body? And on top of that, to show you how big the human body really is, like in comparison to everything, every atom, in the human body, there are about 7 billion or 7 octillion atoms in average on the human body. And you would not be able to survive without any of these atoms or cells, but thankfully none of them have a consciousness, and they don't really care about like whether they are willing to help you or not. We don't know for obviously that they don't have a consciousness, so they can't actually even know what they're doing for it. But regardless, we cannot survive without them. And just to give you a retrospect of how much 7 billion is, just the atoms in your lungs, if you were to evenly spread it out, would be big enough to fill up a tennis court. And in length, just your blood vessels, if you were to stretch them out atom by atom, would be long enough to circle the globe 2.5 times. And so, and as a unit of measurement for this, every cell, if you spread out an atom's length, would be 1 meter long. And so that really extends to how much that 7 billion is. But what's most interesting about the human body and its uniqueness is the DNA. And so what's so special about this DNA? Well, for one, it's very, it lives for a long time, way longer than the body that it has, up to like tens of thousands of years, right? And so that's probably why we're able to identify a lot of fossils really easily. because it's like DNA gets to last that long. And so, but what's most surprising about DNA is that just humans alone, we share 99.9% of our DNA with every other human. So basically, the differentiating like us from different species is that 99.9%, but like if you think about that, only that 0.01% of all of your DNA makes you unique as your own human being. And so that's it for that video. I'll do more videos like this, obviously, because it's during quarantine. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.